Hey there guys, this is Sam.
And Justin.
At the Survival Review, and you know what day it is. It's Halloween!
Yep.
The best day of the year.
Oh yeah.
And you know what that means. We are going to be talking about a John Carpenter film.
Yep.
And we're running low on John Carpenter films.
Yes.
People. We've talked about most of the big ones.
Yeah.
But we still wanted to talk about a fun one.
Yes.
And it's debatable whether it's just a John Carpenter movie because it isn't just him. It isn't just him, and it's sort of, it was going to be a TV movie. You know what it is. You see the thumbnail. It's Body Bags.
So Body Bags is a horror anthology movie.
Yes.
Directed by both John Carpenter and Tobe Hooper.
Yes, two legends.
Yes, 2 segments are directed by Carpenter, and then the third one is by Hooper.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is just like a fun, I like to call it like a celebration of 80s horror.
Absolutely.
If you love 80s horror and you're into like those filmmakers and all that kind of stuff, this is like a treat for you.
This is the kind of movie where we could probably spend like 15 minutes just counting the cameos.
Yeah.
And the little references to different things. And we're not going to do that. But like, God, there's so much just fun stuff that like if you love that era of horror, I mean, and even a little bit before with people like Roger Corman making appearances and stuff like that. There's just like so much fun stuff in it.
Yeah.
And you know, going beyond that, it'd be one thing if it was just fun in that sense, but the segments are all pretty good.
They're all kind of different tones,
yes,
each 3 of them, but they all kind of work in their own right.
Yes.
So this movie started out, because this is made by Showtime.
Yes.
This movie was actually meant to be a TV show for Showtime. It was going to be their competition for HBO's Tales from the Crypt.
Yes, which you can clearly tell.
Oh yeah.
It's very much that vein.
It has that tone. It's very Tales from the Crypt-esque. And one of the advantages that this has over Tales from the Crypt is that its host is played by John Carpenter himself.
Yes.
Ah, good evening. I was just taking a little break.
Just quipping and
hamming it up. It's great
time. Having an absolutely wonderful time.
Like we were kind of talking about this before we started filming. It's like I'm not sure how much this would have ended up working as a TV show, just because it is very much Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have minded seeing more of John Carpenter as this morgue attendant character.
He's great.
He's so much fun. You could tell everything about this movie. There's them just like goofing around, just enjoying themselves.
Everybody's just having like the time of their lives making this stuff.
I feel like every moment with John Carpenter in here, they found a way to squeeze out every goofy, morbid joke that they could, every single like second that they could. You know?
Yeah, I love the stupid like last joke he makes where he's like, "Or you were so worried about your eye for it could have been an umpire," like making baseball jokes.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's so stupid, but it gets laughs out of me.
It's so especially because it's John Carpenter doing it, which is so crazy, you know.
Yeah, I've always thought of him as like an interesting personality, but you wouldn't expect him to have so much charisma and like this kind of stupid, goofy role.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could totally imagine him just keep doing this for a series.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first segment is appropriately titled The Gas Station. It's the first one directed by John Carpenter. And boy, can you tell it's directed by John Carpenter. It's a very simple slasher story.
Exactly, yeah.
That takes place at an overnight shift at a gas station.
The main character is this woman who's a student, and this is her first day at her shift at this gas station.
Yeah.
And as this is going on, there's also a killer on the loose.
Yes, they hear over the news and everything, there's a killer on the loose, and I wonder if that'll come into play.
Another gruesome murder in Haddonfield today. The body of a young woman was discovered buried in the bottom of a trash bin.
And so basically it starts out basically just with her at the gas station. And there's kind of this uneasiness to it, because it is like a great setting for this story. It's probably the most unique thing about the movie, because there's really nothing too unique story-wise about any of these segments.
No.
They're all kind of stuff that you've seen before. But to me, the most unique thing is the gas station setting, and the fact that it's like this overnight thing, and there's this killer out there. It's a really just creepy setting.
Yeah, it's a fun little one-location setting. I really just enjoy what they did with... It's obviously... I like one-location stories a lot. And so having a slasher story like this with... You know, obviously you're not going to be able to have as many kills or whatever that you normally have. But they work really well.
But for a short story, it works fine.
Because she's heard all this stuff about the serial killers on the loose. To begin, she's already really tense. She's really just like not trusting anybody. Of course, like it's an overnight shift at a gas station, so like all the people that come are kind of the people you would expect to be coming at a gas station at at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Of course, you get a sleazy, perverted Wes Craven as the first person to come and visit her. And there's also this homeless man who is the first person that she's really like, seems to be really scared of. Because she's like, I don't know if this person's the killer or what's going on. And he just wants to go to the bathroom. Like every single person, you're kind of getting this uneasiness and like, when's it going to happen?
Exactly. And when it does, it's kind of the least interesting part of the segment.
Are we gonna?
Yeah, we're gonna say it.
Yeah, it just ends up being Robert Carradine, who is the gas station attendant before her. Yeah, and it's fine. It doesn't really matter who it is. It's just that
it's the build up. That is what makes it worthwhile.
And honestly, when he's like that moment where he's bashing in the window with the sledgehammer, there is like a real intensity to all of it, and the chase, which is what John Carpenter's best at.
Exactly. There's so many John Carpenter shots in here that are like straight out of Halloween.
Yeah, like you gotta love the shots where he's like out of focus in the background and you see him getting up. And
it's just that music, the classic John Carpenter music. Yeah. I know we said we weren't going to mention it, but we're probably going to bring up the cameos.
We might as well. I mean, I was just saying we're not going to dwell on it like one by one, but we'll mention them.
But one of the best, like kind of in a way, surprise cameos is like there's this quick shot of an Employee of the Month, and it's Sam Raimi.
It's your boy.
You're like, oh, that's a fun nod.
Yeah, and you're expecting that to be all it is. And of course, you get a nice Sam Raimi body falling out of a locker at one point.
Love it.
It's beautiful. That's the stuff we're here for.
Yeah, so it's a fun little like little mini John Carpenter short film.
Yeah.
You know, like we said, it's like the most pure John Carpenter stuff in the movie, especially when you get to the second segment, which is really not Carpenter style. Yeah. This is just pure John Carpenter. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. Like you said, it's not groundbreaking or anything.
Nothing about this movie is like, it's just fun. I don't know. Like, again, we're past the really like brilliant Carpenter stuff with what we've talked about, and we just want to talk about this fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Then we get to the second segment.
Yes.
Which is called Hair.
Hair. They're all very appropriately titled.
They're very simple.
They didn't try to do anything too creative with the names. But
no.
Hair is the story of Stacy Keach going bald and being very upset that he's going bald. Yeah, he does
not like that at all.
No, so he does this experimental treatment to get a new head of hair, and man, does it work. He gets the stallion style and has hair longer than mine.
Yeah.
Which is saying something at this point. Of course, there's something sketchy about him getting a long head of hair overnight.
Yeah.
What could it be other than snakes?
Alien snakes?
Brain-eating alien snakes?
The payoff isn't a really great payoff.
It's weird and fun. I don't know.
Silly.
I like it.
This is the segment that really shows like the tone that this movie is, because everyone's just kind of going for it. Like when I think of Stacy Keach, I think of him as like really serious and dramatic. And in this movie, he is so over the top.
He's hamming it up.
Yeah, he's hamming it up, but like he's so into it too.
Yeah, he's really into this.
Like the moment when he first unravels the bandage and he has the hair.
It's hair. I have hair.
He's just like so full of himself.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, if I let you touch it, I'll let everyone touch it.
I can't let you touch it. If I let you touch it, I'll have to let everybody else touch it.
I mean, to show you kind of the tone of these stories, you have his girlfriend character.
Yes.
Who for the first half is just like, you're being ridiculous, you're fine, you're losing your hair, who cares?
Yes.
You know? And then the moment he gets the long hair, she's just like all over, like, oh my god, you're so much better.
I know. It's absurd.
Yeah, and that's the style of this movie.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Worth mentioning though, I was a little not confused. It was just like you have all these cameos.
Yeah.
And then in this segment, you know, you're expecting horror cameos, but then there's like the girlfriend is, I don't know if you know who Sheena Easton is, but that's who plays her. She's a musician.
Okay.
And Debbie Harry is the nurse. Blondie, the band Blondie. That's her.
Okay.
And I'm just like, what the hell are they doing in this? Like, but they like she is also just completely hamming it up.
Oh my god,
a great time.
Like David Warner is the head of the place, and he's great.
Yes.
He somehow sells the most ridiculous dialogue at the end when he reveals his whole scheme.
Yeah.
And pulls like one of the worm things from his face. Like he sells it.
Absolutely.
Cameos in this one, you have like a really brief cameo. You have Greg Nicotero, the effects guy, as the scene where Stacy Keach is seeing all these people with long hair. He's just all sad.
Of course, you see him with a dog, and even the dog has super long hair. They're just having like so much fun with this stupid little concept.
And like I was saying, how like the last one is the most Carpenter thing ever. It's kind of surprising this one is directed by John Carpenter.
This feels like not Carpenter at all, but
no.
it's definitely him having a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. So the third segment.
Yes.
This is directed by Tobe Hooper. And this is the one where kind of the tone shifts a little.
Yes, it gets a lot darker.
It's still kind of a ridiculous story, but the tone is a bit darker. This is called I.
Of course.
And stars good old Mark Hamill.
Yeah, doing his Mark Hamill thing.
Yeah, the cast of this movie is so great.
And I have to wonder if it was intentional casting or how Mark Hamill felt about it, but the plot of the story involves him screwing up his face in a car accident. And I'm
yeah,
watching the movie,
I didn't even
like,
think about that.
I'm like, I wonder how he felt about that.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably brought some real experience to that.
And he loses his eye.
Yes.
Which he is this like minor league baseball player who is like just about to break it big into the major leagues. His wife is just found out she's pregnant. She's about to reveal it to him. It's all these obvious things that something's gonna go wrong.
You're of course gonna have that irony of like it's his good eye that he uses to bat. But where does the horror come in? It comes in when he decides to get an experimental surgery to replace his eye.
Yes.
And it goes great until it doesn't.
So it turns out the eye is from a serial killer who was killed on death row.
Yes. And so Mark Hamill starts to see visions of what that serial killer would see and starts to act out how the serial killer would. And
and he kind of starts slowly losing his mind.
Yeah.
And it's cool seeing Mark Hamill do this type of role.
Yeah.
To be honest, it almost doesn't work because I'm so used to Mark Hamill as this good-natured guy that like I almost can't buy him in this like serious stuff.
No, but he's good.
But he's really good. Yeah, and he goes for it.
There's this one moment, he has this monologue where he's just gone completely insane.
Yeah.
And
he cut him up. You see? John would have liked you. I have his eye, you know. I see what John Randall saw.
And man, he's impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the best thing you can say about this movie, that every actor in it just goes for it. If it's a super silly over the top part like Stacy Keach, or if it's like this really serious like dramatic part like Mark Hamill, they all just go 100% in.
Yes.
And like I said, this one like almost tone-wise kind of feels off just because it is so serious. But the premise is so ridiculous.
Yeah, it feels ridiculous, but
it's executed well. I like the makeup in this segment with his eye.
Oh god.
How it has a different eye color, or just how it gets more red and like bloodshot throughout.
Yeah, it definitely gets more red and bloodshot like in the scenes where he's fully crazy, and it's kind of like a signifier almost, and also just works to make his wife uncomfortable. Like he's not himself.
No, he's not.
Part of what makes this segment feel a little weird, I like it, but it's feel like off tone with the rest of the movie. You have this element where this character, he's very religious, and so there's a lot of him reading like biblical passages, and it's really like elevating it to a point where there's a lot more there than you would expect from the rest of the movie. After you see Stacy Keach with all this hair growing out of his face.
After you see John Carpenter with a dead woman whose boobs are too big.
We gotta recycle these.
Yes.
God.
And then you get to this segment.
It's just absurd.
Doesn't mesh perfectly.
But it's still like, if you just like handle it on its own, I think that segment works really well.
And also, like we kind of mentioned, the premise is absurd enough to where it still kind of fits with the rest of the stories. Just tone-wise, it's a little bit different, a little darker. And then we kind of get to the ending.
They managed to squeeze in two more little cameos.
Yeah, exactly.
There's Tom Arnold and
Tobe Hooper
himself as the two coroners.
Yeah. And you find out that the John Carpenter is just a dead body.
Yep.
Who's just been up and about, hanging out and stuff.
He's just out having fun.
Yeah.
And so they start tearing him apart, and that's the end of the movie. It definitely feels like this was the pilot to something else. Just the way that those John Carpenter segments play out, you feel like it was leading up to something, a continuation. But on its own, I think it's still a fun one, especially to watch this time of year.
Yeah, definitely, And like I said, especially if you're a fan of these filmmakers and this era, this just feels like them goofing around for 90 minutes.
Yeah, and it's just like the kind of movie that horror dorks like us enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's just a good time.
It's not a classic. It's not something you should run out and go see.
Here's looking at you, kid.
And what were we going to talk about? Ghosts of Mars? Like, come on. This is a fun one.
Yeah. It's very entertaining. It's definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of Tales from the Crypt and those type of anthology stories, because it does fit like right in line with that. Yeah. It's very in that Tales from the Crypt style, especially like the point where it has a Crypt Keeper-esque host, goofing around and having ridiculous puns.
Yeah.
It's that type of movie, and it's entertaining. It does it very well.
For sure.
So that's Body Bags.
Yeah.
Definitely like a fun kind of lesser known Carpenter film. I mean, it's not 100% Carpenter, but still, there's a lot of Carpenter in it.
Yes.
Both physically and behind the camera.
Absolutely. And I think that's all we've got to say about it. So until next time, we hope you guys enjoy your Halloween.
Yep.
And have a good one.